The island's foreign reserves have breached the $1 billion mark. The high level of non-communicable diseases making some Barbadians uninsurable. And coming up in sports, Darian King eliminated from the Australian Open.
Credible, balanced, committed. This is the CBC Evening News.
Good evening, I'm Shane Jones, leading the news at 7. Barbados foreign reserves have surpassed the $1 billion mark. Minister in the Ministry of Economic Affairs, MARSHA CADDLE, says last May, reserves stood at $400 million. But since entering an agreement with the International Monetary Fund and subsequent funding from agencies like the Inter-American Development Bank, the reserves have more than doubled.
Our reserves rose from $400 million in May 2018 to, as of this morning, 1,060 million, 1.06 billion. We saved the dollar. We settled one of the largest domestic debt restructurings as a percent of the national economy in history.
Ms. CADDLE gave the update as she delivered the featured address at an event hosted by the Barbados Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors. She says since taking up office, government has also seen a major decline in debt from close to 170% to 124% of GDP.
The IMF projects that it will hit 60% by 2033. As a consequence of the change in the way we are managing our finances, our credit rating has had its first uplift in over a decade, and more will follow. We have made significant reforms to monetary and financial governance to ensure that we do not get back here again. The printing of dollars that caused our reserves to run out has ceased. We are running a surplus for the first time in a long time.
The story caused a lot of talk. Barbadian Ronaldo Anderson Aline, who is serving 6 life sentences for firebombing of clothing store Campus Trends back in 2010, is to have that matter heard again. The Caribbean Court of Justice in Trinidad and Tobago has reopened the case. That incident led to the death of 6 young women. Our Ron Brathwaite reports.
According to reports, the CCJ issued a notice last Wednesday requesting further information from the parties after discovering that Aline had been involved in the firebombing of another building, the Chicken Galore building, on August 13, 2010, less than 1 month before the Campus Trends incident. The lawyers on both sides confirmed that Aline had pleaded guilty to aggravated burglary and arson in relation to the firebombing of the Chicken Galore building. However, according to reports, this information had not been brought to the court's attention during the hearing of Aline's appeal against sentence in the Campus Trends matter held on December 5th. Back in 2010, Aline was convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to 6 concurrent life sentences for the Campus Trends store incident. At the Court of Appeal, Aline argued that the life sentences imposed on him by the trial judge were excessive, and further, that the trial judge did not consider a discount for his early guilty plea. In dismissing his appeal, the Court of Appeal held that his sentences were neither excessive, disproportionate, or wrong in principle, given the seriousness of the offense, and that the issue of a discount did not apply to a life sentence. Aline appealed to the CCJ, seeking to have the decision of the court overturned. However, on December 5th, the CCJ reserved judgment in the matter. Ron Brathwaite, CBC News.
Thank you, Ron. The prevalence of non-communicable diseases in Barbados has led to a rise in the number of Barbadians classified as uninsurable. That's according to President of the Barbados Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors, Lana Butcher. However, she says agents have been working to find a solution.
That has been on the increase with the advent of the increase in the NCDs, diabetes, high blood pressure, so forth. But I always tell my clients there's always a solution. You might not get what you originally set out to get based on whatever issue might have been discovered, but we go through a process. We don't just shut the door and say, oh, you have high blood pressure or diabetes and you cannot be insured. There's a process. So there's always a solution. So you either get it as quoted, or you are rated depending on the medical results. The underwriter will rate you a particular amount so that you still get the coverage, but you pay a little more than a totally healthy person.
Ms. Butcher was speaking to CBC on the sidelines of Barefa's Blast-Off 2019 event at the Hilton Hotel. Now, she says in spite of the challenges of the past year, the association is optimistic that business will improve for 2019.
2018 was a difficult year. We persevered, but the challenges with the economy, the citizens of Barbados being a bit hesitant with their decisions, financial, whether to move forward, ensure their liabilities, cover their families. It was difficult. But we trust that 2019, with the changes that we've seen thus far with the new administration and the increase in confidence, which is one of the greatest hurdles that we have had to overcome, with these new changes, we should see more growth for 2019.
Hundreds of first-year Ross University School of Medicine students took a huge symbolic step this evening when the Lloyd Erskine Sandyford Center hosted the first ever white coat ceremony in Barbados. Family members flew in from across the globe to witness the eager first-year students don their white jackets for the first time. They came up in groups beaming at the opportunity to finally wear the universal symbol of medical sciences. Associate Dean Dr. Rhonda McIntyre highlights the fact that it is no small feat that the students have reached this point on their journey. She urged them to use that same determination during their time at Ross.
Some of you have overcome health challenges, others economic hardship. For some, English as a second language created barriers to being successful on your exams. And for some, you will face rejection on more than one application cycle to medical school, and I've had to retake the MCAT several times. Whatever your circumstance, it means that you had to go through, you were here, and we saw something in you that allowed us to have the confidence to know that you had the potential to succeed.
The white coat ceremony is seen as a global rite of passage for the profession of medicine, and Dean and Chancellor Dr. William Owen stressed the importance of the day.
It's the modern companion to the legacy Hippocratic oath that you will pledge to with sincerity today. Currently, virtually every medical school in the United States and many across the globe hold a white coat ceremony to welcome and to set professional expectations for new medical students and to inspire those of us who mold them.
Well, after working so hard to reach this day, keynote speaker Dr. William Pinsky says now is not the time to sit back and expect to be fed information.
Be in charge of your future. Seek out opportunities and experiences. Challenge your faculty to be available in order to discuss concepts, theories, innovative ideas, and to guide you as you work your way through this amazing career opportunity.
Barbados has abstained from voting at the Organization of American States on a resolution relating to Venezuela. The Permanent Council of the OAS agreed to not recognize the legitimacy of Nicolas Maduro's new term. It was approved with 19 votes in favor, 6 against, 8 abstentions, and 1 absent. The 15-member CARICOM grouping was split in its decision. Now, in addition to Jamaica, St. Lucia, the Bahamas, Haiti, and Guyana voted for the resolution. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Suriname, and Dominica voted against it. St. Kitts and Nevis, Trinidad and Tobago, Belize, and Grenada joined with Barbados and abstained. The resolution urges all member states to adopt diplomatic, political, economic, and financial measures that they consider appropriate to contribute to the prompt restoration of democracy in Venezuela. Well, it also calls for new presidential elections to be held at an early date and attended by international observers. The European Union has said it will not recognize Mr. Maduro's presidency. The National Council on Substance Abuse intends to make more use of the various social media platforms. This as it recognizes the single target approach is not enough to disseminate drug prevention messages, especially to the youth. Manager Betty Hunt, who was a guest on CBC TV8's Morning Barbados, says messaging for the youth has to be different.
It cannot be the lecture style, it cannot be the old chalk and talk, it cannot be the just say no. Because as you know, young people, everybody, they're getting messages from everywhere. Messaging is instant. And so we at the NCSA, we have a responsibility really to maintain on the cutting edge of messaging. And so we have just invested and we are rolling out our social platforms because that is the way to reach. We say young people, but in truth and in fact, even older people are communicating over social media.
World people.
Oh yes, oh yes. So we really have just invested in that, and we're building out our social media platform and working more with our IT to reach across our audiences.
Well, Ms. Hunt says the NCSA will continue its outreach this Drug Awareness Month by focusing on women.
This is a start of a community-wide intervention with different publics, but certainly this year we will be focusing on women in substance and substance abuse issues, with women especially.
Program officer with the NCSA, Paulavette Atkinson, says the support of the public is important in prevention efforts.
We definitely need them to have a greater understanding of what substance abuse is all about. I think most of the time people recognize the issue of drugs at the tail end, when persons are affected, when they fall into trouble with the law. But we want people to remember that the National Council on Substance Abuse is about prevention in the first instance. And that means that persons need to be educated. And that is why, as our manager alluded, it is important to reach out to various populations and to work with them over time.
Big news for the Young Men's Christian Association. We're hearing it's working to reestablish itself as a safe haven for young people in Barbados. General Secretary Sabaya Miller says the YMCA currently offers 18 academic and skill-based courses through its Eye on the Y program. The association, in partnership with the probation department, has offered several young men scholarships to take any of these courses. It's now gearing up to roll out another program, this time targeting primary school children.
We have sponsored an after-school program, which will commence on January 28, 2019. In its initial stages, the program will host 20 students from the Wesley Hall Junior School. Each evening, the students will be provided with a light snack, assistance with homework, remedial mathematics and remedial reading, followed by an extracurricular activity, which includes ballroom dancing, martial arts, billiards, basic electronics, hockey, and basketball.
Well, there are also plans to host an Easter camp as an extension of the after-school program. Recognizing the importance of continuing education, the Barbados Defense Force is ensuring that its members are staying on the cutting edge and benefiting from the latest in military training. Sherwood McCaskey has that story.
I'd like to thank the UK High Commission, the Barbados government and the BDF for providing this opportunity for my brother and I to study at the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst, and also the Royal Naval Britannia College at Dartmouth.
With hearts of gratitude, the two siblings, Midshipman ZARIO Brathwaite and Second Lieutenant Pierre Brathwaite, returned to Barbados and resumed duties with the Barbados Defense Force after a successful period of training abroad. Their courses of study saw them expanding their character, intellect, and professional competencies to the level demanded of an Army officer on first appointment through military training and education.
Courage, leadership, integrity, selfless commitment, honesty, discipline, respect, self-growth also.
For his brother Midshipman ZARIO Brathwaite, what was impressed upon him was the need to break down the compartmentalization of the units of the force and see the many benefits that could be derived when they work as a cohesive unit.
The core values also at the Royal Naval College also reflect the same, working with others as well, and applying that knowledge on a broader scale. Not only just to work in an infantry unit, but to apply that as an officer to the Naval, the Air Force,
or the infantry.
For these officers, the importance of integration and synergy for the force could never be overstated, and these points of consideration will command much of their attention as they seek to ensure that the force benefits from their newly acquired knowledge.
We'll be able to integrate that and use it in the BDF to really give them that broader appreciation of the BDF and not just the Barbados Coast Guard and the infantry. Bringing that unit together, it will make us a stronger unit, and it will be a stronger force when applied to serve the public.
Deputy High Commissioner to the UK, Father Charles Morris, represented the government of Barbados at the passing out parade. He lauded the efforts of the Chief of Staff of the Barbados Defence Force and his high-ranking officers, who by this very act demonstrated their commitment to higher and continuing education for the overall development of the force. In congratulating the Brathwaite brothers, he commended them for making Barbados proud through their good work and conduct. Deputy High Commissioner Morris also highlighted the importance of the officers working closely with their commanding officers to ensure that their recently acquired knowledge is shared with all as they seek to add greater value to the defense and security of this island. Sherwood McCaskey, CBC News.